his hands and feet tied with tough vegetable fibers. Teo lay it on the damp ground under an oak. He looked off towards the big rasping fire in the center of the camp. He was worried about Greybeard. He knew the clan hunters were out searching for the old shaman. As soon as they found him, it'd be aight. The shaman would tell everyone he was too old to paint. He thought Teo, and he would name Teo the new cave painter. Because of all the taboos, some of the hunters and elders would be displeased, but Greybeard calls the shots, and he would call up to the spirits, and they would accept it. He was thinking of this when he saw 4 hunters carrying a large burden wrapped in bear skins and set it on the ground near the fire. First he couldn't make out what it was. He saw some of the clan women kneel beside it, their dark forms rocking back and forth. He heard the wailing and crying and realized it was a dead person. They had fallen down, go boom. Other women came. They uncovered the body and began smearing it with handfuls of red earth and clay. Then they wrapped it in birch bark in preparation for burial. Just then Teo heard a whimpering cry in the buckthorn bushes behind him. He turned and saw a pair of yellow eyes staring at him from the darkness. With a sudden start, he knew it was Ram. Go away! He struggled against his bindings, but he couldn't get free. He couldn't throw a stone or a stick. He whispered again, telling Ram to go, but the wolf dog wouldn't move. After the woman had left, he heard footsteps. Someone was coming to check his bindings. The footsteps came closer and closer. Instantly, the yellow eyes disappeared. The wolf dog had run off. Teo waited, expecting one of the hunters. Instead, in the dim light, he saw a woman standing over him. She leaned down. He recognized it was Kala. The woman glanced around quickly, searching the darkness. She had a purse-like object in her hand, holding it up by the long strap, and Teo saw that it was Greybeard's skin pouch. Kala looped the strap over his shoulder and then tucked the pouch under his robe. You told them Greybeard gave this to you, she whispered. And he'd want you to keep it. Teo felt a wave of hope. They had found him? She put her finger to her lips. Yes. Oh, good, said Teo. Now he'll be able to tell them about his promise. Kala shook her head. No, my son, she whispered. The old shaman is dead. They found him lying in the oak wood. Teo put his bound hands up to his forehead and closed his eyes as the words stabbed him like a knife. He was sick. I didn't kill him. They must believe me. Greybeard was my friend. Hush, said Kala, her dark form leaning over him, a flint knife in her hand. They will only believe evil spirits. That is why I must cut you loose. Teo pulled away. No! They will kill you for this. Kala spoke under her breath. I'm an old woman. You still have many summers yet. Teo shook his head. No, If I run away, they'll be sure that I have killed the shaman. And if you stay, then I will face Saxton, he spoke bravely, but deep down he was very scared. If I live, they will know I've spoken the truth. If I do not, then it really doesn't matter. Kala clicked her tongue and frowned. You're just like your Maja. You're so stubborn. You walk your own path. Next morning, the hunters untied Teo's feet and led him up a narrow ledge to the top of the cliff where the high plains began. Fear gripped him now, but he wouldn't let anybody see that. He looked straight ahead. His lips were tight. They made him stand with his back to the edge of the cliffs. Far below was the wide green valley. Out in front was the high plains that stretched away as far as he could see. Here, groups of longhorns and great herds of bison grazed peacefully over the vast waves of yellow grass. In the distance, Teo saw Saxon, the sacred bull. For more than 8 summers, the great beast had ruled over these stomping grounds. Now, in the middle of the bright sun, he seemed larger than ever. Massive shoulders, long sharp horns outlined against the horizon. A cold chill crept up Teo's spine as once again he saw the bleached white bones of Saxon's victims scattered across the plains. The hunters climbed to the top of the mound of the rim rock, where they could watch the battle safely. Volt untied Teo's hand and gave him a spear. It is the will of the spirits that you face Saxton with a weapon in your hand. Teo was thankful for the spear. It would help him keep his balance. He felt Greybeard's deerskin pouch hidden under his robe. He knew it contained only pieces of flint, the horn of a bison, and some gravestones. Hardly the kind of magic that would stop a charging bull. Volt walked over and climbed up on the rim rock. Hanging out with the other hunters. Garth and the others began waving their arms and jumping to attract Saxon's attention. The bull looked up, his great white horns gleaming in the sunlight. The heavy muscles rippled under the shiny black hide as he trotted to the foot of the rock. He looked up, billowing, glaring at the group of hunters. Then he saw Teo standing alone in the open, within reach. For so large a beast, he turned quickly. With heavy strides he advanced, and now Teo could see the fire in his eyes. Fighting aback the terror, Teo stood rooted to the ground. His heart was pounding wildly. He leaned on his spear, bracing himself, waiting for the attack. The massive beast stopped directly in front of the boy, towering over him like an ominous shadow. His eyes blazed, his nostrils flared. Slowly, he circled around, taking his time, eyeing Teo closely, as if he knew the boy couldn't escape. Teo turned with him, standing on his good foot, balancing himself with the spear in the other. Snorting and blowing, the black bull lowered his head and stabbed the ground with its horn. He pawed the dirt, kicking up huge clouds of dust. Then, with a bellowing roar, he charged. Teo stood firm as the earth shook beneath him. He saw the long, sharp horns coming straight at him. As a huge bulk of the animal filled his vision, just at the last moment, he threw himself to one side and rolled out of the way. In a rage, the bull tossed his head and whirled around. He splayed his hoofs, trampling the dried grass. Quickly, Teo jumped to his feet, bracing himself for the next attack. Once more, Saxon lowered his head, and flecks of white foam drooling from his mouth and nostrils. He tossed his head again and charged, boiling up clouds of dust. Dust in the wind, man. Teo tensed, gritting his teeth, waiting for the right moment. Once again, he sprang aside, but this time he felt a smashing blow of the bull's heavy shoulder as it slammed against his body, hurling him to the ground and knocking the spear from his hand. For a moment, he lay dazed and confused, shaken and unable to move. Then out of the corner of his eye, he saw Volt jump down from the rimrock, shouting and waving his arms. The enraged bull looked up, uncertain. It gave Teo time to scramble to his feet. But Saxon turned back quickly. Teo was his victim, and he would not be distracted. Slowly, he walked around the boy, dwarfing him in his shadow. With a wild rush, he charged, hooves pounding, eyes blazing. Teo, the artful dodger, dodged once more, just in the nick of time as a long curved horn caught the edge of his robe, spinning him around and throwing him to the ground. The deerskin pouch was torn free and dangled from his shoulder. Chest and arm throbbing from pain, the boy looked up to see the bull turn. Was getting ready to charge again. Now there would be little chance to get out of the way. He fumbled blindly for the spear and desperately tried to gain his feet, but the great beast was coming fast.